I tell you, Sir Topham Hatt's railway is an absolute disgrace. Accident after accident, still using locomotives from before the First World War. How this railway hasn't gone bust yet really baffles me. I mean, that incident with the boulder could have easily destroyed a whole town and killed many people. But even mentioning this incident is so ridiculous. A boulder running loose on the island like Indiana Jones? Just preposterous.
Well, how would you run the railway different if you were in charge?
If I discuss every change I made, we'd be here until Christmas. But basically, modernize the railway and get rid of the steam engines. And then fix this railway's awful safety record once and for all. I tell you, it won't be long until someone is actually killed on this line.
Ugh, I really do hate that man. Who is he? That is Otto Grubb. He's an advocate for transportation safety and one of my biggest enemies. He would thoroughly enjoy to take this railway down.
Over my dead body, he will. You've done a fantastic job in my footsteps, son.
Oh, please. He's right about the safety record.
Rubbish. That old boulder thing wasn't your fault. At least it wasn't you who disturbed it. Like I did.
I hope we can repair our image before it's too late. I'd hate to disgrace the Hat name.
Rubbish! Both your grandfather and great-grandfather would be very proud of you. You're a very clever man. Despite all the troubles, you've always managed to get out of it. And that is a true trait of the Fat Controller. The island of Sodor is quite a remarkable place. There are engines of all kinds that work here. Big engines, small engines, red engines, blue engines, the list goes on. Despite what some engines will say, each railway plays an important part to life on the island.
Come on! Where is that big blue bonehead? About time. What kept you?
It wasn't my fault. A cow was on the line, and we had to wait for it to be shooed away.
So much for being right on time.
I wasn't late. I was delayed.
Uh-oh. Do you hear that?
Yes, I do. Here comes trouble.
Trouble? You think I'm trouble? Talk about pot calling the kettle black. You steam engines are much more trouble than anything about me. You put this railway's reputation on the line according to Otto Grubb.
Well, then that makes you completely lose your credibility if you believe what Otto Grubb says. His head is full of so much rubbish it might explode.
You can deny it all you want, but I see change on the horizon, and it's not good at all. Sir Topham Hatt's days as controller of this railway are numbered.
Reputation's on the line, huh? What utter bollocks! We may have had a few accidents here and there, but when was the last time we had a fatality?
I honestly don't remember. I do remember some incident with a ditch, though.
Oh, shut up, Thomas. I haven't had an accident in years. Well, no, actually, wait. I crashed into Tidmouth last year. Oh, pah! What I meant to say is that I rarely have accidents.
Sure, keep telling yourself that, Gordon.
Hello, Chuck. How's it going?
Pretty good, sir. Everything's running on schedule and the passengers are all happy.
Excellent. Let's show Otto Grubb the true way to run a railway.
Oh, don't pay attention to that bastard. He's just looking for every minor fault so he can come up with a bogus story. He won't win. Oh, are we ready? All right.
Where's that freight headed?
Wellsworth. Thankfully, this line of trucks are well behaved.
That's because all of us have taught them well, haven't we, Toad?
Quite right, Mr. Oliver. Right, here's the 10:10 service.
Oh no! Stop!
Ow! What the hell happened? Holy crap! Get an ambulance!
I'm so sorry. I must have been sent on the wrong line and I couldn't stop.
Help us! There's lots of injuries! What the hell was the signalman doing? Oh Lord, have mercy! What happened?
It wasn't my fault, sir. I was switched onto the wrong line and I couldn't stop.
Of course it wasn't your fault. What was the signalman doing? According to the signalman, the points were jammed, so he had to put the red signal. This engine must not have seen it.
There was no red signal, I assure you, sir.
Interesting. Doc is usually a very careful engine, so I find it very unlikely that he would be distracted. Maybe the signal didn't work. I have some rather bad news. It appears one of the passengers injured happens to be the one and only Otto Grubb. Oh, damn. Damn! God damn! Never mind that, though. I've got some even worse news, sir. What? It's the guard on board the Express. I believe Chuck's his name? Is he alright? I'm afraid not, sir. He's dead. No. Not Chuck! The future of the Hat's legacy could be on the line. Advocate for transport safety Otto Grubb, who happened to be a passenger on that exact train, is planning to sue the Northwestern Railway for negligence. There have been a string of incidents on the railway, with the last one resulting in the death of a guard. Many are starting to question whether the railway is in good hands. What utter rubbish! Accidents happen, and this was just an unfortunate combination of events.
It's a good thing Chuck doesn't have a family to go home to. That would be awful.
I'm worried though, and you all should be too. If the courts rule in Grubb's favour, the Fat Controller could be booted out.
If that were to happen, us engines would not stand for it. We'd all go on strike.
It wouldn't matter anyway. They'd probably scrap us and replace us with modern engines. Our fate is tied to that of Sir Topham Hatt.
Has anyone seen him since the accident? I haven't.
He's probably rightfully being careful about going out in public, avoiding the media.
We've made a decision, Topham. We're going to wait and see the results of the trial. If you're found not liable, then you shall keep your position. But if you are, I'm afraid we may have no choice but to ask you to step down. I know you're a loyal and hard-working businessman, but the fact is passenger numbers are down and we are losing money. I understand. Accidents like this sometimes happen. It wasn't your fault. It may not be in your eyes, but in the eyes of the public, it is. And that's the only opinion that matters, unfortunately. Besides, even if it wasn't exactly 100% my fault, a good man died doing his job on my railway. I don't think I can get over that. But it's over. They're sending out an official investigation. I might as well resign if I'm going to be booted out. Now don't you act like that. Like I said before, it would be over my dead body for you to be removed. You must fight for your rightful place. You must fight, especially for the engines.
Be realistic, Dad. We've had many major accidents on this railway, and the board said today if the trial wins in Grubb's favour, I will most likely get the boot.
What are you going to tell the engines?
The truth, that uncertain times lay ahead. Engines, no doubt you are all aware of the tragic incident that occurred a few days ago. Chuck was a hard-working and friendly guard, and he was quite fond of all of you. I can't tell you how much it pains me that he died doing his job on my railway.
But it wasn't your fault, sir.
Unfortunately, regardless of whose fault it actually is, I am always the scapegoat. I am, after all, head of the railway. I love my job, and you all mean the world to me. But the truth is, especially after a not-so-great safety record, you may have to prepare yourselves. I will fight as hard as I can for this railway, but it will be difficult. I'm to attend a hearing next week. Needless to say, the railway's future depends on it.
That filthy German bastard!
Gordon, that's not helpful. Even though I will say I fully agree with you. But anyway, that's all I needed to say. I hope I haven't failed this railway.
Failed? You? Poppycock, sir. You may have had a few incidents, but let me tell you that you have not at all failed us, and you never will. You uphold the Hat legacy brilliantly. You've never cowered down in the face of adversity. You stand your ground. You put our welfare before anything else.
I must admit, I never expected those words to come from you, Diesel. You are a truly reformed engine.
Oh, well, your father did give me another chance.
And you yourself gave me a second chance.
That's why you have, and always will have, our support.
We would rather melt in the scrap heap than have you taken away from us.
Hear, hear! This court is now in session. Our case, Grubb versus the Northwestern Railway. Plaintiff, Transportation Safety Advocate Otto G. Grubb. Defendant, Sir Richard Topham Hatt IV. The defendant may have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, let's just say this railway has always had a bad safety record. But lately, the amount of accidents is astounding. And the latest one resulted in an innocent man's death and severe damage to my back.
Back damage? You seem to walk in okay.
Well, I got better, but anyway, it is absolutely ridiculous that this railway that is why I am suing this man for gross negligence.
Mr. Hatt?
Yes, I'm listening.
Do you have anything to say to these allegations?
I most certainly do. First off, I will admit that the safety record isn't as great as we'd hope.
See? He even admits it!
Silence, Grubb.
Anyway, we've had a few incidents. I won't deny that. But in all the years I've worked here, we've had exactly one death. One!
A death that could have easily been prevented!
See, this is where Mr. Grubb has got it wrong. Think back to those incidents. The boulder, Gordon's crash at Tidmouth, the collapse of the bridge to Brendam Flour Mill, etc. All of these incidents were cases of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Gordon's crash was caused by another engine breaking down on his line that forced him to be put into a siding where he couldn't stop in time.
and the boulder incident? Haven't you all forgotten that it was revealed that someone had trespassed and accidentally disturbed the boulder, causing it to run loose?
That is not entirely true. It came loose again after you tried to move it with a helicopter.
How else was I supposed to move a bloody boulder that size? All right, that's enough. Lawyers, do you have anything to contribute?
Yes, sir, I do. Although Sir Hat may not be technically responsible for the incident, he is responsible in the eyes of the law. He is head of the railway, and thus must make sure that it runs safely. There was obviously a fault in the signal system that caused this accident, and it should have been caught if the system was inspected regularly.
Our inspections are very thorough, let me tell you that.
Well, obviously not enough!
Silence! Mr. Hat's lawyer, you may continue.
Thank you. As Sir Hat clearly stated before, this incident was most likely unavoidable. Looking through all the records, the signal system did pass the last inspection. Therefore, this negates any liability for Mr. Hat.
I'm afraid it does not. If anything, like I just said, it proves that the checks were not done properly. Either that or the driver wasn't telling the truth and was distracted.
You already heard the driver and fireman's testimony. The driver, the fireman, and the engine, even a workman, all stated that the signal was green. That's 4 witnesses.
Indeed. Sir Hat, do you have anything to say after hearing that? Well, I don't know what happened with that signal and why it had a fault after it had just been inspected. All I can say is that I have faith in my workmen, and those I don't have faith in I immediately discard of. Whatever caused this signal fault must have been a force we could never have predicted. Had I known about this fault before the accident, I would have made sure it was fixed. You people act like I run this railway as some sort of joke. You think I don't give a damn about passenger safety? Utter bollocks! I take these railway operations very seriously. The priority is, and always will be, the safety of the passengers. Wait until you hear the actual reports of the investigation before you make your own bloody thick-headed nonsense about my railway. Yes, well, thank you for that speech, Sir Hat. And the investigation report will be revealed after the break. What do you think? Is it in our favour?
It's hard to say, sir. You brought up some very valid points, but all at the same time, so has Mr. Grubb. The reality is, the outcome of this trial depends on the investigators' findings.
Then they should have revealed that information to me before the trial, don't you think?
I don't know why they've withheld it, but we'll all hear it today.
All right, now then, present your findings, investigator.
I shall indeed. We conducted a thorough investigation of this incident, and we have come across some interesting findings. This was all withheld from the public because we felt that if they had the knowledge of these events, it could be quite dangerous.
What?
To sum things up, it was not just the signal, but the points as well. It was a combination of the points being in the wrong direction and the signal showing the wrong message.
Well, obviously! That's why someone's now dead and we're all here!
Silence!
Here's the thing though. The nature of the fault was nothing like we had ever seen before. The signals and points are all electronic now these days. If the points were jammed, then there will be a warning light at the signal box. Based on the signalman's testimony, there wasn't one. To add to that, the signals are all automated, so if the train is stationary on the same line, within a certain distance, they will automatically go red. Based on several witness accounts, it most certainly was not red. To sum it up, the point stayed stuck, yet the signal remained green, despite there being a train ahead.
But surely someone would have noticed earlier that the points were not working! There's tons of trains that run through there!
That's a good point, but after I've finished, it will make sense. How do I put this? This fault, the signal, the points, the accident, the death of the god, they were all deliberate.
I beg your pardon?
What utter nonsense!
That's ridiculous! Ignoring the reason why someone would do that. How could they have timed it all up? That seems like a lot of coincidences to rely on.
I'll give you the simple answer. This person knew the timetable of the railway's operations.
Of course! Who has knowledge of that? Oh yes, Sir Topham Hatt! It was him!
Are you daft? I would never dream of something like that! Silence!
The evidence clearly indicates that Sir Hat is not the culprit.
Show it to me!
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the key. We found it on the rails underneath the impacted coaches, as if it had slipped out of someone's bag. And I tell you, it is extremely good luck that it did. This reveals everything. As you can see, there are notes describing a very sinister plan. And it reveals exactly how it was carried out. First of all, as I said before, the person knew which trains would be rolling by at what time at Tidmouth. He then did something very clever. He went to the points, and using some tools, he put a device into the points. Then, using the remote control, this device was able to jam them. Then, somehow, he altered the mechanism in the warning system so that no warnings would show up.
But how do you know it was the same person from the book? What if some maniac wrote in his journal, and by coincidence there happened to be a regular signal fault?
We have CCTV footage. Around 2:06 a.m., the security cameras all went black, all except one. One he'd probably forgotten about, the single cam. We conclude he somehow hacked the security cameras and shut them all off, but obviously, not all of them.
Just one question though. Who is he?
That, I'm afraid, we don't know. As you can see, he's wearing clothing that hides his identity, so it will be tricky to identify him. What is clear, though, is that whoever this is, he wanted to stage a fatal accident. And it doesn't end there. An inspection of the deceased guard's body revealed something that even further contributes to that. His injuries did not match those of the train crash. He had quite a blow to the head, but a very concentrated one, as if he was hit by a sharp object. There was nothing in that carriage that was sharp enough to implement such damage like that. Therefore, we have a theory that this guard was struck with a pickaxe shortly before the crash.
You mean he was murdered?
Yes, sir. Our theory is that whoever orchestrated this horrible act wanted to make sure that this man was dead. They didn't want to risk him surviving the crash, so they took a precaution. Unfortunately, we have yet to determine who it was who killed him, but what is clear is that someone is trying to tarnish your railway's reputation. You see, this book not only reveals this incident, but 2 earlier incidents as well.
What are you talking about?
This, the crash at Tidmouth last year, and the Boulder incident all have something in common.
No, you don't mean...
I'm afraid so, Topham. They were all orchestrated by someone. Look in this book. Here it reveals plans to insert a small explosive into the engine of a diesel. This diesel was the same one that broke down at Tidmouth in March of last year. This diesel blocked the line, and thus an express train was forced into a siding where it could not stop. Fortunately, the shrapnels have been kept since then, and it was thought that the diesel had just ingested them somehow. But this notebook reveals that these shrapnels were once pieces of a small firecracker. It had been cleverly timed to explode right before the diesel reached Tidmouth and sent the shrapnels into the engine, causing the diesel to fail. Any remaining evidence of an explosive was all burnt up. We assume the small device was placed in the engine whilst the diesel was sleeping.
And what about the boulder?
It was revealed after the incident that someone had disturbed it, and they're right, but they didn't realize that it was disturbed on purpose. They used explosives to get the boulder moving, but it rolled in the wrong direction towards the narrow gauge railway. After that failed, it reveals something interesting. When the boulder was harnessed up to the helicopter, as it approached Croven's Gate, according to this notebook, someone fired a large bullet from the ground and it struck the rope, weakening it. The bullet was never found, but the helicopter did report hearing a faint gunshot-like noise. This notebook was never intended for us to see. It was used as instructions for all these acts of sabotage, and whoever it belonged to is likely now feeling very stupid.
Sabotage? But who would sabotage my railway?
We shall conduct a more thorough investigation, Mr. Hat, But basically, I would like to say to you all that Mr. Hat is completely innocent here.
All right, jury, what is your ruling? Our ruling is that these events revealed to us were entirely out of Sir Topham Hatt's control and were an act of a malicious sabotage. Therefore, we find the defendant not guilty.
Oh, you've got to be joking!
Very well then, case dismissed.
Congratulations, I knew we could do it.
I couldn't have done it without you. But I now feel it doesn't matter anymore. Someone is attacking my railway, and that is a grave concern.
I'm sure they'll find out who it is quickly.
Hello, Sir Topham. Congratulations on winning the trial. We've unanimously agreed to keep you in control.
Thank you, sir.
But of course, now there is even a bigger issue. What was revealed here is quite disturbing. We need to get to the bottom of it as soon as possible.
I fully agree. We will increase our security immediately.
Well, to be honest, whoever did it must be in extreme fright now. Having been caught, I don't think he'll be trying that anymore.
That's the question, though. Will he strike again? Right now on this railway, we've got a phantom saboteur to catch.
Well, we've been found out. You better get out of here fast!
No, it's time for some real revenge.
Very well then, Thitkins.
Ladies and gentlemen, head of the Northwestern Railway, Sir Richard Topham Hatt.
Good morning. I can only say that after hearing the shocking news in the trial, I am very alarmed. Never in the history of this railway has someone orchestrated such evil. We currently do not know who the culprit is, but let me tell you that this very minute we are searching for him. They will not get away with this. My only guess is that these acts were attempts to slander the railway and get me booted out. They were orchestrated to appear as accidents caused by negligence, but they couldn't fool us. These acts were nothing more than sabotage and terrorism, and we will not back down. We will capture the individuals responsible, and they will feel the full bite of justice. As for the valuable passengers travelling on the railway, all operations will continue to run as normal. However, I will advise you to be cautious and aware. If you see anything suspicious, report it. That way, we can all together catch these phantom saboteurs. Thank you.
I don't bloody believe it. Our railway is under attack.
I remember when ours was back in 2014. Those men trying to steal gunpowder practically hijacked me. Fortunately, they were all sent to rot in prison. Or at least most of them.
What do you mean by most of them?
After a few years in jail, the leader of that group, Thitkins, became ill with cancer, so they let him go on parole.
What utter nonsense! Whatever happened to full justice? I don't want to hear any more of this nonsense about human rights when the humans themselves don't deserve them. I understand Lady Hatt's taken the children on holiday to the Caribbean.
Yes, but I don't know if I'd call it a holiday. It's just after she heard the results of the trial, she thought it would be best to keep the children out of danger.
Out of danger? From what? That lunatic was trying to sabotage your railway, not murder you. Besides, he's probably fled for his life after his plot was discovered.
I agree with you there, but she just won't take any chances.
Right then, we all need to work together if we are to catch the culprit. I say we form an observational squad.
What's a botulism squid?
Observational squad. It's when we report our observations and findings to each other.
Gordon, we don't even know if the culprit is still on Sodor.
That's the thing. We don't know. He could be planning another act of sabotage.
That's very doubtful, Henry. He knows he's going to get caught again. If I were in that situation, I wouldn't risk it.
Who do you think this person was? I can't think of anyone who would want to do something like this.
It can't have been anyone random. This person obviously has serious beef with the Fat Controller, but I can't think of anyone who does.
Well, except for... Oh my god.
What? What is it, Henry?
You don't think it was Otto Grubb? I highly doubt that. He may be a complete prat, but I doubt he would have the intelligence to pull something off like that.
Actually, that kind of makes sense now I think of it. He wanted to get rid of the Fat Controller, so maybe he staged the accident.
I say we catch him and get him locked up.
I'm not so sure. That's definitely a good theory, but we have no clear evidence. I think we should just continue on with our jobs, like normal, and if we see anything suspicious, we'll let Sir Topham Hatt know at once.
Sorry to interrupt, but what on earth is that thing hovering up there?
That looks like a drone. Are we being spied on?
Oh wait, you know what that is? It's the Duke of Botsford's drone. He's gotten into a massive obsession of flying drones recently. He's probably wanting to get a good shot of the sheds. Spencer told me he's obsessed with this new hobby.
I don't think he should be flying them near a railway. Isn't that dangerous?
It might also make some people suspicious, especially in a time like this.
I didn't see the boulder getting dislodged. I only heard it coming towards me, and I ran and screamed.
I see. Well, thanks anyway.
I knew that rock had no mind of its own. It was all just a part of a big conspiracy.
I just can't think of anyone who would want to do that, though.
Move out of my way, you bumbling cigars!
Oh, there goes Mr. Nice Guy.
Grumpy as usual. Where on earth did that contraption come from? He has such a ridiculous design. Looks like a rejected Transformer.
I overheard Henry talking about it once. I don't remember exactly what he said, but apparently some company owned him on Sodor. After the company went bust, Sir Topham Hatt somehow got a hold of him, and he works at the scrapyards. At least, that's what I gathered.
Well, good riddance. That's where the devil belongs.
You know, I'm getting quite suspicious.
Why?
Why? That engine is spending loads of time hiding in the sheds, and the other day I passed by, and I could have sworn I heard him talking to someone.
So? It was probably just the yard manager.
It didn't sound like him. I wonder if that old clapping claws is plotting something.
Never done that before, has he?
Yes. What if this is something bigger?
You're filling your head with nonsense, Harry. What if that man is just a psychologist he regularly sees? Honest.
Whoa! This is going to be good!
You see what I mean?
You look glum, Percy. What's up?
Oh, I'm just concerned about all these events on the railway. Is it still safe for us?
I'm sure it is. Don't worry. I'm certain we will catch this criminal. The investigation is looking into it right now.
Well, the other engines have a theory as to who it could be.
And who's that?
Well, they think it might be Otto Grubb.
What the?
Get down!
Forward, driver!
Take cover, everyone! Get the police!
What the bloody hell was that?
Well, sir, it appears that someone just tried to kill you. We haven't found the suspect, but we believe the bullet was fired from the other side of the tracks. We're currently using all our resources to find out who this person is.
I think I know who it is.
Who?
The one and only Otto Grubb. I should have seen this coming. How could I be so stupid? It's his revenge for losing the lawsuit.
That's an interesting theory, but there's a problem. Mr. Grubb is in England at the moment.
Well, then it was probably someone working for him. I tell you, he orchestrated all these attacks.
Regardless, you need to stay safe, sir. I recommend you stay in your house and not leave unless escorted. As you all know, someone attempted to assassinate Sir Topham Hatt this morning. I am speaking on his behalf to let you know that he will be less visible for the time being. You may still see him around, but not in normal locations. He is, in a sense, gone into incognito mode. And Percy, you saved his life by moving in front of him to block the bullets. He is ever so grateful and thinks you're a very brave engine.
Of course! I would protect the man at any cost!
Is the railway going to stay open?
For the time being, yes. We believe that the perpetrator is only interested in the Fat Controller, so he's removed himself from vulnerable situations.
I never thought I'd say this, but I would much rather have the Fat Controller be sued than killed. This situation is more grave than we could have ever thought.
Indeed. This is a very scary time for the railway, but I can assure you that the police are doing everything they can to track down the person responsible. Why won't they just open their eyes? It's so obvious that it was Otto Grubb, or at least someone working for him. Your opinion is the exact same as Sir Topham Hatt's. He thinks it's Grubb too.
Hey, Tenny! Have you heard that someone tried to kill the Fat Controller?
Of course I did! Why?
Who do you think it was?
Probably some nutter who didn't like him. How would I know who? Now if you'll excuse me, I have business to attend to.
What are you doing, Harry?
I don't know, but he's acting very suspicious.
Oh, don't be foolish. That brute is too stupid to carry out an act like that.
I know he himself didn't do it. I'm just wondering if he knows things that we won't.
Well, I know you're there.
Right here, Pac-Man.
Oh, it's you, Thickens. You better go and run. Can't believe you couldn't make a shot of an obese man. Talk about pathetic.
How about you try firing a bullet from over 200 meters? Besides, that fat stupid twit wouldn't go into the right place.
That's the second screw-up you've had. The boss isn't happy, and he'll relent more abuse on me.
Not my fault.
Anyway, since you failed to get rid of him, the boss has another idea. We are going to lure him into the trap, and then kill him.
Now that is despicable. Ha ha ha! I love it!
I swear I don't know who it was. I must have been asleep. I'm awfully sorry.
It's not your fault. A person who is clever enough to pull off a scheme like that must be very skilled. Even the brightest engine would likely fall victim to it.
I guess you have a lot of experience with scheming, Diesel. Who knows? Maybe you have a part in it. Haha.
Need I remind you that my so-called reign of terror is over? Besides, whoever did these events was no genius, just a complete and utter fool. If it was a genius, we never would have discovered that plot, now would we?
Hello, maybes.
Oh, hello, Harold. I wish I could say it's going well, but needless to say, I'm really alarmed since we basically had an attempted assassination.
We all are. I've been on extra important patrol lately.
Have you seen anything suspicious?
Well, nothing extremely out of the ordinary, but I did see a car tear out of Mr. Percival's drive very fast, and it wasn't even Mr. Percival's car.
That's odd.
Guys, where is Mr. Percival? He was supposed to talk to me about 2 hours ago. They say his car's at his house, but he didn't answer.
Maybe he's ill.
He was here this morning and looked fine. I'm starting to worry. What if there's something that happened to him?
Don't worry, Peterson. I'm sure he'll be back soon. Maybe his cat got stuck in a tree or his toilet overflowed.
I don't know. It's not like him to disappear like that.
Excuse me, sir. You're wanted on the telephone.
Bother that telephone. Hello?
Hello, Topham. It's me, Peregrine Percival. I have some important news. News? What news?
Well, the thing is, I'd prefer to tell you in private in a hidden location. I don't want to risk anyone else hearing about it, but it concerns who the culprit is, and it is not Grub.
Not Grub? Who is it then?
Again, I prefer not to tell you over the phone. Besides, I'm standing next to a piece of evidence and I can't really move it. You need to come and see for yourself. I'm at the old line near the Duke and Duchess's summer home.
I'm afraid I'm not comfortable just driving over on my own, considering I was almost murdered yesterday.
That's all right. I've sent for Thomas to come pick you up from Wellsworth. You'll be accompanied by him and his crew. He had the day off, but was more than willing to help.
Oh, yes, he did have the day off. Very well. I'll be there soon.
All right, see you then. There. Is that enough for you? May I please be released? I don't like being a hostage, you know.
Shut it! You try to escape and I'll blast you to bits.
Ah, Burks, there you are. Say, could you do me a favor?
What?
Could you take this train to Nerford Station? I'm having a bit of trouble with my engine. I need to go to the diesel works as soon as possible.
What is it?
It's just building materials for the station. Push them into the third line from the right. The station master already knows this, and he'll be expecting you.
Fine, but you owe me.
Wonderful! Thank you so much.
Hello, Thomas. Do you know what Mr. Percival wants?
Not exactly, but it seemed like it was some shed or something that showed evidence of who the person is.
Are you sure you don't want a bodyguard, Topham?
It's all right. I'm being accompanied by Thomas and his crew, and the place we're going is deserted of people.
Wow, this line's a lot spookier than I remembered.
Where exactly did he say he would be? There he is. Hello. So what's this all about?
Well, Topham, I know exactly who is responsible for both the crash and the attempt on your life.
Yeah? And who is it?
Topham, do you remember about 5 years ago when there was, well, a hijacking incident on the Skarloey Railway?
Wait, do you mean the one where those hooligans tried to steal the gunpowder?
Yes.
You don't mean their leader, Thickins?
Exactly. He was released from jail recently because he had cancer. It all makes sense.
Oh, yes, I guess it does. How did you find this out? And where's the evidence you brought me over for?
Well, basically...
Are you alright? You're sweating like mad. Mr. Percival, where is this evidence?
Right here, fatty. I wouldn't move if I were you. This gun's fully loaded and I'm not afraid to use it.
Help!
Don't spoil the party, you little steam pot!
What the bloody hell is going on?
I'm so sorry, Topham. He kidnapped me and used me to lure you.
Now then, here's the deal. You will stay where you are. Any attempt to escape or call for help, and you'll be shot.
Alright. Look, what do you want from us? I don't want any trouble. Just let us go.
Me specifically? I don't want anything from you. It's my boss who'd like to have a word with you.
Boss? What boss?
Let's just say he's my old owner.
Old owner? Your old owner died of a stroke years ago. Don't give me that rubbish.
Who is your old owner?
Why don't you ask him yourself?
Oh my god. How is this possible? You're supposed to be dead!
Am I not dead? Oh, sorry about that. Anyway, it's lovely to see you again, Topham.
Well, if it isn't the one and only bastard, Phil Boggiston. What in God's name are you doing here? And how the bloody hell did you survive?
Survive? What? I never had to survive anything. I faked my death so I could go under cover.
But they did an autopsy!
Yes, I hate to tell you, but that was falsified. Aren't you forgetting my brother does autopsies for a living? He was the one who, quotation marks, performed the autopsy. That's what he does for a living.
So you falsified an autopsy report?
Yes, indeed. Very clever, you'll have to admit. Now then, I think I should remind you all why we are here today.
Because you want to kill me? I'm not bloody stupid, you know.
You're absolutely right, Topham. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think we need to explain why.
Because you're a corrupted, despicable person. We all know what you tried to do with your business.
That's because you bankrupted and tarnished my family! My father lost everything when your father broke ties. You slandered our legacy. He went into despair and drank himself to death. We were on the verge of losing our business before he died, but as he lay on his deathbed, I promised that I would save our legacy and bring us back into wealth. You know what he told me?
What?
He told me that I needed to use any means possible to pull our family out of the ashes, and boy did I.
Typical businessman.
But here's the sad part. I came to your father on all fours begging for forgiveness. I wanted to change the negative image of my family that my father had tainted. And after I proved to you I wouldn't be as corrupt as him, your father greatly obliged.
But that's the problem, you idiot. You became even more corrupt than your father.
Ah, but it didn't have to be that way. You see, we entered a loyal friendship, and the friendship continued when you came into power in 2013. But then you and your father tricked and betrayed me. When I saw the contract at first, it was written in a way that I believed that you would only be using my fuel for your engines. This brought in loads and loads of money, and I brought our family name back into glory. However, as soon as I decided to slightly raise the price of my fuel, just so I could make a tiny bit extra, you began using other fuels. At first, I believed you were in violation of the contract, but then I realized that you and your father had specifically worded the contract so that there was a loophole where you could use whatever fuel you pleased. You had cheated me.
First of all, it was more than just a slight raise of price. You skyrocketed the price, and that is the exact reason we wrote the contract in that way. You must have misread it, because it clearly stated that I would only use your fuel if the prices were reasonable.
Make all the excuses you want. You betrayed me in pure spite, and now my business was threatened.
It wasn't just the price, you bonehead. You were just as corrupt as your father.
It's all business, Topham, and you decided to play full, so I did exactly the same in return.
By tampering with the other fuel to make it seem like yours was the only reliable fuel. Very clever, but I was smart, and I knew something was up. You didn't get away with it, now did you? If you had been to trial, they would have immediately found you guilty. And you know what? When I first heard that you had died, I immediately assumed that you had committed suicide because you knew you'd be caught.
Why did you fake your death? That sounds like a very stupid thing to do. You wouldn't be able to get any more money. You might as well should have really died.
As a matter of fact, when I knew that I was in trouble, I considered suicide at first, but then I got a wonderful idea. If I had just killed myself, you all would have won. That just didn't sound acceptable for my family's legacy. I then realized what I needed. Revenge. And if I were to fake my death, no one would ever suspect me. That way, I could go undercover and serve justice deliciously. I staged an accident to tarnish the legacy of the railway and get you booted out. And it worked marvelously. Until some idiot left my notebook full of evidence on the platform!
Yes, well, sorry about that.
In all fairness though, Fitkins has been marvellous. He was a loyal worker to Ballyhoo Firearms Gunpowder before it was shut down. He was a very close to the head of the company, and when he got arrested, Fitkins had nothing left. The owner of Ballyhoo Firearms was a close friend of mine, and so I felt I had the duty to help one of his most loyal workers. I instructed Fitkins and some others to steal gunpowder so I could use it for my master plan. But unfortunately it failed, and Fitkins ended up in jail.
That is, until I got terminal cancer and was released from jail to live out my final years at home. I owed Bogiston a favor, so I got in contact with him and the plan went back into action. And what's more, I used to be a signalman many years ago, so I knew exactly how they all worked. I was able to hack into and eavesdrop on the signalman's communications, so I knew exactly where each train was going.
As you've probably figured out, we tried many schemes to get you into trouble, and they were quite clever too. Who would have thought that we could have intended a diesel to block the line, or how we dislodged a boulder? But all those failed. I decided that there was only one thing I could do, that is to kill you. And now we've lured you into the right place. You've lost, Topham. You thought you could mess with me? Well, I'm afraid not.
Well, Diesel 10, this is how you repay me. I gave you a home and work, and gave you many chances to improve yourself. I'm the only one who would do that, and yet you betray me and try to get me murdered? You're a strong engine. Make the right choice.
Don't try and guilt-trip him, Topham. Remember, he was a gift given to you by me as a means of trying to repair the relationship between the Hat and the Bogistons.
So Bogiston was his owner? He never told us it was him, just that he came from a businessman.
I didn't think the engines would appreciate me using Bogiston's engine until our relationship had been completely resolved, and I just never got around to telling you all when we did. It's complicated. I'll explain later.
That's fair enough.
Explain later? Did you forget we are here for right now? There will be no after for you. This is the end for all of you.
And what will that accomplish? They'll find out it was you, and then you'll no longer be able to hide.
Oh, they won't know it's Bogiston. We'll cover it up very well.
Exactly, and even if they do find out, I've got a private jet waiting to take me to Cuba. They won't catch me. I'm a free man. Oh, and there's one more thing I forgot to mention. It won't just be you folks meeting your end tonight. We've got an engine taking the goods train to Natford, and it's full of explosives.
What?
Yes! We tricked one of your engines to take it for us, and in about 30 minutes, the whole station will go up in flames. Oh, it will be spectacular! We just thought it'd be fun to do some damage after we've dealt with you, and we heard your father will be there as well, so it will kill two birds with one stone.
Is this how you please yourself? By murdering innocent people?
I'm afraid that's how it works. Sorry about Chuck. I was able to put on a disguise and sneak into the coach and deal with him. But that's life sometimes. You have to do what you have to do.
And speaking of which, we'll have to put dynamite in this engine to prevent him from talking. We'll do that after we deal with you.
Mark my words. If you kill us, or any of our engines, the remaining staff and engines will hunt you down, and will not stop until they've ripped your head from your body and crushed it with a steamroller!
Sorry, Topham, you're not scaring me. Fitkins, do the honor.
With pleasure.
What?
Police, get on the ground! Put your hands up! He's escaping! After him!
Don't move, Thomas, old boy. Driver, couple him up.
Don't worry, Topham. We've got you now. You're safe.
How on earth did you manage to save us?
I was flying my drone on my property, and when I put the SD card from it into my computer, I could make out you being held hostage at gunpoint from the footage. I then alerted the authorities, and we came to the rescue.
Oh no. Wait! Knapford is going to blow up!
Oh, damn. We've got to warn them! And so we shall. I'll use my cell phone to call them, and then in the meantime we must rush over there to help.
There's not a moment to lose. Tally-ho!
What do you mean I swindled you?
Don't act all oblivious! You wanted me to take that case to court with you, and you knew it would not end in my favor!
I most certainly did not. If I knew that it was an inside job and not a reckless act, I would not have contacted you.
You are a despicable bullshitter! You came into the hospital on the day of the incident, and you were very persistent that I sue Sir Topham Hatt, promising remarkable compensation, but in the end all the legal fees I paid you were for nothing!
Well, that can sometimes happen.
I'll get you for this! Who knows, you may have even had a part in this conspiracy!
Phil, Grob is onto our plot. It won't be long before he finds out that we set him up for this.
We will deal with him later today. Right now, I'm about to set a trap for our dear old fat Hat. After that, I have instructed Fidkins to take care of old Grub and collect his money. But for now, Topham is our priority.
Hurry! We've got to warn everyone!
Hello? Evacuate Knapford Station! There's a bomb in there! What? Do it now!
Going so soon? I don't think so.
Oh no!
Get out of the station now! There's a bomb! A bomb? Where? Go! Evacuate!
He's gaining on us!
Not on my watch!
Yo!
Abort! Abort! We'll catch them another time. We'll have to hide somewhere.
Stay where you are. There's an explosion imminent at the station.
Explosion? You mean like a bomb?
Hello? Dad, is that you? Yes, I've just evacuated Knapford. There's a bomb threat. Oh, thank goodness you're out safely. Do you know anything about this? Yes, but I'll explain later. Lord have mercy! It's alright, everyone got out.
Well, thank goodness for that!
This building has been here for over 90 years, and in the span of a few minutes, it's gone. Until further notice, I want the railway to shut down completely. All operations must cease indefinitely. I cannot bear any more destruction to my family's legacy. That's a good decision, Topham. We must find out who the culprit is. Oh, I already know. He tried to kill me a few hours ago. And let me tell you, I am going to hunt down and kill that bastard.
In breaking news, Knapford Station has been destroyed in the apparent bombing. Fortunately, no one was killed. But as of now, the operations of the Northwestern Railway are shut down and suspended. But even in more shocking news, according to Sir Topham Hatt, is apparently a man who was thought to be dead for about 5 years, Phil Boggetston. Boggetston's whereabouts are unknown, but a manhunt is currently underway.
They won't catch him. If he made people think he was dead for 5 years, then he's clever enough to get away. Yes, but now everyone knows he's still alive, so his secret has been foiled. If I were him, I'd honestly prefer being dead after being found out. Maybe, but not until we're both dead too. It's absolutely appalling that this is over a bit of fuel. Fuel. I know someone I need to talk to. Well, if it isn't Fatty Fat Hat, don't you mess around with me. You knew that Boggetston was still alive. Well, I do now. You know now, eh? Funny, you didn't have any contact with the outside world. How could you have known? He came in here, didn't he? Didn't he? Alright, fine. Yes, he did. And that's all I'm gonna tell you. Oh, I don't think so, mate. Start talking, or I will really take you to pieces this time. Go on then. I've been stuck under the sea for 4 years, and now I'm cooped up in this shed. I welcome death. Oh, really? Yes, don't think this'll save you. Boggetston has other plans, and he's not gonna rest until both of you are dead. Oh, so he is still hunting us. He's not given up, has he? Good job. You've told me what I needed to know. You really are more stupid than I thought. What are his other plans? I don't know, alright? He didn't tell me. I'm pretty sure he did. No matter though, we'll find out if you're lying. Come on, Father. He's no use to us.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know there were explosives in those vans.
I told you something was up, and I was right. Clappy Claus is a true villain, but you were too stupid to realise that, and you blindly went along with this plot.
How dare you call your brother stupid? He was tricked. This was clearly a thought-out plan by a monstrous individual.
Indeed. We should stop talking about who's to blame and instead team up to bring justice.
I like the sound of that. We shall be the Diesel Squad!
Are you going to rebuild, sir? Of course we will. We will not let Boggetston bring us down like this. We are not cowards.
Sir, do you think you could elaborate on how Diesel 10 relates to Boggetston?
I guess I should have told you this a long time ago. But anyway, Diesel Chen was a Class 42 who worked on the mainland until he and his brothers were withdrawn from service. Arthur Boggetston, Phil's father, found him sitting in a siding and took pity on him. He rescued him and used him for work around his refineries. Being quite a mechanic himself, he decided to give a modification to make him useful. Diesel Chen was his own form of transport. He was then passed down to Phil Boggetston when he came to power, but Phil didn't see much use for him. Therefore, he gave him to my father as a means of gratitude for repairing the relationship between the Hats and the Boggestons. As you all know, he was not the nicest engine and kept getting into trouble, so I based him at the scrapyards to keep him in order, which was a big mistake. However, despite his attitude, he did prove to be very useful for track maintenance. He seemed to be going in the right direction, albeit very slowly, but I saw potential. Oh, how wrong I was.
Do you think there's any good left in him?
Considering he aided in an attempted murder of the Fat Controller, I think not. It was a mistake to keep him for as long as I did. All this time I thought he would become a really useful engine, like Diesel and Ted. and the same with Croven. In fact, he was quite useful and seemed to be going down the right path. He was grumpy, yes, but he always got his job done. But in the end, he betrayed me.
You must understand, though, that Bogiston was his old owner. He probably manipulated him into doing these horrible acts. Of course, it doesn't excuse what he did, but if my old guardian suddenly showed up from the dead, I think I would be a bit morally confused too.
You better get in quick.
I heard you took care of Otto Grubb.
That is correct. It was very easy.
Well done, Fitkins. You escaped well.
Barely. My shoulder is completely screwed up now. So, what's the plan? I say we get as far away from this island as possible.
Not yet. We still have work to do.
Work to do? Are you insane? Our cover's been blown. Now the whole bloody UK is looking for us.
I'm aware of that, but I'm not going to give up this easily. Topham is still alive and his railway may not be running at the moment, but it is still standing.
And what do you suppose we do now?
We'll have to use some other tactics. I'm sure you're aware that Vlad here still has a large group of loyal men from his mob.
The very best. If you provide the money, we will gladly assist you.
You can have billions as far as I'm concerned, but my finances are no longer of any use since I went underground.
But what are you gonna do?
We are going to start tearing this railway apart, bit by bit.
All right, engines and staff. The police are calling for our assistance in the search for Bogiston. This is entirely optional, though. Do not feel like you are required to do this. Needless to say, this could be very dangerous. Well, it's not like we can do anything else. I witnessed Bogiston destroy the biggest station on the island, and I am not going to sit on my arse while he does more damage. Count me in.
We're all in this together.
Aye, let's kick some Boggins' bum.
But we have to catch him first, and how do you suppose we do that? It's not like he's going to just be casually walking out in the open.
Fire and lots of explosions!
I think we've had enough of that these past few days.
We need to somehow lure him to us. We need to convince him to be in a certain location so we can apprehend him.
Oh, that would work brilliantly. Hello, Mr. Bogiston. I know you're busy blowing up the island, but would you like to have tea with us at the station? The police will be there as well.
I think he meant that we need to set up a trap.
You are exactly right. The question is, what kind of trap?
How about a cage with the Fat Controller's hat as bait?
Maybe even Topham himself!
Can we stop with the jokes already? This is serious.
I mean, he does have a point. Bogiston's goal is to have me dead. So if it looked like I was going to give myself in, he might actually fall for it.
I know you would do anything for the railway's safety, but we would never let you put yourself in danger like that.
How about we see if you really would do anything for your engines, Topham?
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but this is major news breaking. Otto Grubb is dead. He was found near his home with a gunshot wound.
Uh-oh, time to go.
Wait, he's dead? Gunshot wound? He was murdered? Well, all I can say is, hooray! Silence! Look, regardless of our opinion of that horrible man, this is very unusual. Don't you see? This indicates something.
I mean, it's not like anyone liked him.
Yes, but why would someone kill him after he lost the trial? Sounds a bit counterproductive to me.
and it was proven that he had no involvement in the conspiracy. Which means... what does this mean?
It means that either Bogiston or someone working for him convinced him to take the case to trial, knowing that they would win. But when they didn't, Grubb started to catch on to their plot, so they killed him.
You seem very sure of that.
I was near the location of where Grubb was shot, and I saw a group of what looked like mafia members scrambling onto another bus, just like me.
This is crucial information. I think we are one step closer to catching these crooks. Indeed. Let's go catch this despicable
Setting a trap, eh? Well then, we will have to set a trap first.
That didn't work well last time you did that.
He's right. He wouldn't go anywhere risky without the whole army at his side at this point.
Well, not without a little persuasion.
Exactly. Let's just say that the fate of his prized possessions will be determined by whenever he comes to us or not.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Are you saying we're gonna take more engines hostage? That was a whole lot of work doing it with just one. There ain't no way I'm doing that again.
Excuse me? Is there a problem?
Yeah, there is! Because of you and your minions' clumsiness, I was nearly apprehended, and now my cover is blown. I can't go anywhere anymore. I did not sign up for this. Just accept it. You've screwed up, and now it's time to just run away. Any more action will get us killed or destroyed.
You want me just to give up? Let me make one thing clear with you, Rust Bucket. My family's legacy was destroyed, and nothing, I mean nothing, is going to make me give up! I will make sure both Tophams are dead, even if I end up dead afterwards!
Well, go ahead. I'm done doing your dirty work.
Fine. You'll just have to sit here where they will find you eventually, and you'll be scrapped. As you stated, you have nowhere to go now, do you? I am your only path to staying alive at this point. So unless you want to face the melting pot, I suggest you show more respect to the family who rescued you from it in the first place, you ungrateful bastard!
Yes, sir. Forgive me.
Right then. Now, let's get to work.
Tally-ho, little taps!
Oh, I hope that helicopter dropped the bomb on this Bogstein guy.
Exactly. And Thickens too. Sandal never should have spared his life.
Oh, they will both get what's coming to them. Mark my words.
Hey! Watch it, idiot!
Are you daft? You'll blow our cover.
Whoa, boy! There's a red signal. And there's some object on the line. It's some sort of box. Maybe we should report this. Ow! Ow! What on earth? Driver?
So sorry to bother you, but I'm afraid your driver and fireman are a bit indisposed at the moment.
Son, something bad has happened. What? What is it? I think you need to come listen to this message.
This is a message for both Richard and Stephen Topham Hatt. Yes, I'm still alive, and it is most certainly not over. However, I have decided to be reasonable, and instead of trying to murder you both, I have come up with a compromise. Me and my minions have 5 of your engines hostage right now, in different parts of the island. If you do not adhere to our demands, we will start destroying these precious engines, one by one. Now then, here are our requests. The 2 of you will make your way over to me, and I mean only the 2 of you. No police with you, and you will deliver to me no less than £5 billion. Cheque or cash, whatever is convenient for you. Anyway, you will bring me that money, and I shall leave this island and never return. That will be the last you will ever hear from me, and the rest of your railway will be unharmed. You have until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. If you do not do this, then once again, I will start destroying these engines one by one. We have lots of explosives with us, so don't think we are bluffing. And the same applies if there is any police intervention or rescue attempts. We are currently sending my location to you through email, so only you will have access to it, assuming you don't give it to anyone, but you already know the consequences of that. I hope that we can settle this like respectable men. Once again, you have until 6 tomorrow morning. Don't try me!
And all right, respectable men? What utter bullshit! Richard, calm down. We'll figure something out. My engines are like my children. I can't just let them be destroyed. They're like that to me as well. All we have to do is give him the money, and then we can get him apprehended after he releases the engines. No! Bill Buggerston doesn't care about our money. Don't you see? He just wants us to go to him so he can kill us both. Why on earth would he suddenly go from wanting to murder us to simply wanting half my net worth? It's a trap! You're right. But this brings up a worse situation. It's basically either our lives or the engine's lives. Regardless, I need to go see which engines have been taken. So it appears they took, well, Doc's still at the works, thank goodness. But I guess they took Gordon, Toby, and Douglas. Oh, God.
Not Dougie! Those bastards!
Gordon as well?
What are we going to do?
Our friends are in danger.
We will figure something out. But one thing is for certain. I am not going to give Buggerston that money.
But they'll kill them otherwise.
I know that! Officer, what do you think? This is a very high-stakes situation. Your engine's lives are in danger, but at the same time we cannot simply give in to Buggerston's demands. He is likely within easy contact of his other minions elsewhere on the island, so we'll have to apprehend him without alerting the other captors.
So basically a simultaneous rescue?
But we have to find out where the engines are being held first, and that may be impossible without alerting the others.
Indeed. Actually, there's something that Buggerston probably doesn't realise yet.
What's that?
Don't you all remember? Recently, every engine on this railway was fitted with a hidden GPS tracker. All we have to do is look it up. It's so easy.
Well, that solves one thing, but that still doesn't help them being hooked up with explosives.
Yes, indeed. So, does anyone have a plan?
I'm looking at the area where Boggerston says he is, and it looks quite heavily secure. A rescue operation will have to be very well thought out.
You hear that? The flopper chopper's already investigating us. They won't fall for it.
Don't worry, I've planned for that. Do you really think Topham and his father would show unaccompanied? He'll probably bring the whole military with him. We'll just have to play along and then we'll trap them. Reg has graciously volunteered for this.
I will serve my master well. So you're basically a suicide bomber. Or actually, you're the suicide bomb. The vast majority of my life was spent sitting in one place. I'm fed up with this cruel world, and I will go out with a bang!
Literally. And so will both you diesels, the galloping sausage, and both fat hats.
We had no part in this old railway drama. I refuse to be used as ransom.
I mean, I don't know anyone who would volunteer for it.
Quiet, you. Hello, Fitkins. What's the status?
Everything is in order, Phil. Ready for action.
You won't succeed with this.
Excellent. And what about you, Vlad?
All set, waiting for your commands.
Right then, here's the deal. Any sign of interference, let me know immediately, and we will begin destroying these engines one by one.
And what happens if you run out of engines to blow up and Fat Hat still hasn't come?
We will have to take more desperate measures, but don't worry, Fat Hat has quite a connection with his contraptions, and he would hate to see them destroyed.
Alright, are we ready? I'll never be ready, but we have no choice. Those engines are counting on us.
We'll have your back the whole way. Just give them the fake check and then get away as soon as possible. But then leave the rest to us.
The future of Sodor depends on this.
Our lives depend upon it, not just Sodor. I'm ready for action.
Indeed. So let's get moving. Alright, you all. That's the signal. Let the rescue begin. For Gordon.
For Dougie!
For Sodor!
Why are you doing this? I know you weren't the nicest engine, but at least you had a home here.
If you're trying to play the guilt game, then you can forget it. I have only one option now to stay alive, and that's to go through with this plan. Besides, even if I hadn't joined Bogiston, I wouldn't have wanted to stay here. I have no place on this island.
You know, I once knew an engine just like you. He was confused about his place and had a similar attitude. He felt disrespected and underappreciated. And you know what happened to him in the end? He literally went out with a bang. He blew himself up while trying to murder me and Henry. Oh yes, I see a lot of similarities between you and that engine. But let's just see if you go out the same way.
Well, it's too late. I already made those bad choices, and now I have no other alternative. This is the only path left.
What's Bogiston going to do for you? No railway will take you. You'll be stuck in a shed for the rest of your life.
Silence! Our guests have arrived.
What? No! Is he insane?
If you stay quiet, I might consider sparing them both. Their lives will depend on your ability to shut up!
Alright, here we go.
We're just secretly surrounding the building. If he hears any gunshots, we'll raid immediately.
Diesel-chan, it's not too late. You don't need to serve him anymore. He's corrupted you. You were once a very useful engine. Not now. We can do that after we rescue the others.
Well, hello. Glad to see you've arrived safely.
Well, there's the entrance. Are you sure it has to be me?
Yes, because you work this line, and it would be less suspicious.
Can't Thomas come with me?
It's better that only one engine goes, so that they don't catch on.
You're a brave engine, Percy. You can do this.
Just keep them distracted until Harold comes. That's all you have to do.
They seem to have cleared up this line by cutting down some of the trees.
So remind me, why haven't they resumed construction tearing down the flour mill? It's been about 5 years since the bridge collapsed with Ted on it. They were supposed to build a resort, weren't they?
After Tie Bridge collapse, there was a whole bunch of safety bureaucratic nonsense and investigations, and it took years to get the project approved again.
They rebuilt the bridge, but apparently they ran out of funding after, so it's just been sitting there for 5 years.
The Fat Controller's a good man, but he does need to get his financial priorities straight.
Alright, that's enough. This is going to be a very tricky rescue, but we have a plan.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You're gonna knock down buildings?
Not just knock down buildings, but blow them up!
Well, yes. It will cause a huge distraction. Then we will try to rescue them.
Percy? What are you doing here?
Oh, Sorry! I was supposed to collect some trucks, but the points must have been in the wrong direction.
Uh-huh. Likely story. You better go back the way you came from, little caterpillar.
No worries. I'll wait for the points to be switched back. Yes, the points to be switched back.
So, how much did this bogey guy pay you?
Enough to make us very happy.
Communism wasn't good to you, was it? You know what's quite sad? I used to have a driver that fought in the Second World War, and at the end he met up with the Russian soldiers as allies. They were very friendly and respectable people. Not at all representative of their bad government, but because of people like you, the Russians get a very poor reputation.
Hey, quit with your political lecture. We're just men doing our job.
Oh, now that's a good excuse.
This is gonna be awesome, man. Alright, when you hear the signal, you go first, Donald, and rescue your brother. The SWAT is in position, and we will raid the area. But don't let anyone alert Bogiston.
What was the signal again?
Fire in the hole! What's that thing? Fire! Take shelter! And contact Bogiston! It's a rescue attack!
Don't worry, Dougie! I've got you! Couple him! Quick!
He's getting away, man!
Oh, no, you don't!
Yes!
Well, I guess the mission was a success.
Indeed, we didn't need any backup after all.
I'll make this simple. Show us that you don't have any weapons, and we will hand over the check.
My pockets are empty, well, except for this lighter I use for smoking.
All we want is our railway and engines to be safe. Just leave us be, and we will never pursue you.
Just hand over the bloody check and then yes, you'll never see us again.
Very well. Here it is.
Ah, yes, the exact amount.
Now then, release our engines immediately, and never, ever come back.
Alright, move into position!
Oh, don't worry, I have no plans to come back. I assure you that no one will ever see me alive again. And as a matter of fact, no one will see you two alive either!
Get out of here, sir!
Tally-ho, chaps!
What happened?
Oh shit! He set the building on fire!
Now wait, why would you be collecting trucks if the railway had suspended operations?
Because he's not here to pick up trucks. He's here to rescue the tram.
No, sir,
Shall we blow up the tram then?
No, I think we can use this engine as a hostage too. I mean, what is one engine alone going to do?
Oh, I'm not alone!
Bombs away!
Drive!
Quick! Couple him up! We've got you now. You're safe.
Not so fast.
Ah!
Christ! What will it take to bloody kill you?
I'm contacting Bogus. Ah! This isn't over yet.
I'm afraid it is over, Sonny Jim.
Yeah! Well done, you all!
Quick! Find an exit! There isn't one! We're surrounded!
Hold on. Where's the explosion? Why hasn't Reg gone off? His fuel pipe was on. It should have gone off a long time ago.
Oh, I closed it because I thought it would blow up before he could get out.
What?
The heat will cause an explosion eventually.
In about 10 minutes, in which they could have escaped, you idiot! Go back in there and unplug it!
No, sir. I'm done messing around for you. I've got all of Grub's money to spend. Goodbye.
Get back here, you backstabbing bastard!
There's no way out! We can only go where the rails are! We do!
Not necessarily. You two still have fuel in you, don't you? Reverse backwards and don't stop when you get to the wall.
We will go straight through it.
Exactly, that's the point. Help! 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 Help!
Get on board!
Come on, let's get out of here.
What about the explosion?
It's too late. We'll have to kill Topham another way.
Don't worry. I'll make sure that building explodes.
Wrong way! What are you doing?
I have no use left here, and neither do you!
Stop! Stop! Stop!
He just suicide bombed that building. I think Bogiston was on board, which means... that means he's dead for real this time.
If I was there a second longer, I would have melted into a drink. I'm gonna need a new paint coat.
Well, it's over then. We can now confirm for a fact that Bogiston is this time actually dead. And Diesel Chen too, I assume. He went out in pretty much the exact same way that Alfred did over 90 years ago. Yes, I suppose so. Only he did it for the sake of the railway, not himself. Even though he may not have been the nicest engine, he definitely was one of the bravest. This past week has been one of the darkest moments in our railway's history. The destruction we witnessed is unbelievable. We lost both our main station and the life of one of our favourite guards. However, let me emphasize that this is not the end. We will rebuild everything. Whilst the emotional scars will not heal, the physical damage will be repaired. Knapford will be rebuilt to its former glory, plus many improvements. Bogiston may have destroyed many things, but he still failed. He failed to force us to cower down in fear. I made it clear that he would face the full bite of justice, and he did thanks to the brave efforts of a redeemed Diesel who sacrificed his life for it. And let us just say that you and your father have been extremely brave as well. We've always admired you as our controller, but we cannot even begin to tell you how much respect we have for you now.
Absolutely.
You are our savior. 3 cheers for both hats.
Why, thank you. That means so much. But you owe us nothing. Let me tell you, no matter how much respect you have for me, It will never be on the level of respect I have for each and every one of you engines after these past few days. You are the true heroes of the island. Absolutely. In the past, you've all had various quarrels and rivalries over things like size, strength, engine type, etc. But these past few weeks, you have done something that I never thought I'd see. You put aside all your differences and teamed together to save us all. No matter steam, diesel, electric, or whatever, you stood your ground, and together you put an end to that lunatic's wrath on the rails. All of you earn the biggest praise of all.
Oh look, Duck's back from the works.
Hello.
Whatever happened, I must not cry!
And let me add one more thing. I'm sure you've all heard the various stupid comments from the press about how this railway is, a totalitarian society where engines are forced to do work under the rule of the fat man with a hat. That's absolute rubbish! Preposterous! Exactly! In fact, I sometimes feel like the term controller is a bit demeaning because let me tell you, you're not just assets or tools to keep a business running. You're family to me, and I'm proud of you all. Just know that. But enough of that emotional blabbering. We've got a railway to run. Let's get started!
Hello, Gordon. Shouldn't you have left by now?
There's a 5-minute delay due to sheep on the main line. Just preposterous. Oh no, a 5-minute delay? It's a catastrophe. The world's gonna end. This is not good at all. If I can't make up extra time, I'll be 5 minutes late at the next station. And then the next. And the next.
Sounds like someone got out of the wrong side of the shed. It's not the end of the world, Gordon.
But it's... Oh well. I guess there are worse things that could happen. That I agree with.
Exactly. Besides, whatever problems happen today, remember that there's always tomorrow.